Hello and welcome to Mediabeat. My name is Andrew Gauthier. I am an editor here at Mediabistro, and this handsome gentleman sitting next to me is Josh Wolk. He is the top editor, the entertainment editor of Vulture. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's, I guess, to start, if you could kind of give us a very brief history of Vulture.
Vulture was basically started, New York Magazine started a few separate blogs. They had Daily Intel for news, Vulture for entertainment. Then the idea was a couple of years ago to really break Vulture out into its own thing. It had originally been two bloggers and an editor, just kind of keeping this thing going with aggregation and a few features. The idea was to really balloon it out into its own site. And so I came aboard from Entertainment Weekly about 2 years ago, and we really built up a staff, added some more actually original reporters out in LA, former trade reporters, hired some more bloggers, and really turned it into, and after a big redesign, kind of turned it into its own thing. It really looks like a web page as opposed to just a sub-site.
There are a lot of places out there covering entertainment, and if I go to the Vulture homepage right now, you know, there will be something about Glee, something about Ryan Gosling, and there are tons of blogs covering the exact same thing. I mean, I guess, what does Vulture do to stand out?
Vulture, kind of our self-professed goal, that sounds really arrogant coming out of my own mouth, is to kind of be the smartest voice on pop culture. Basically, we want readers who think they know everything about pop culture to finally have to concede that we know just that little bit more. We want to be the people who can sort of put everything in perspective, do a funny take, but a funny smart take on things. And when I say the smart voice, that doesn't mean we're only writing about Downton Abbey or Masterpiece Theater. We are perfectly happy being the smart voice on Jersey Shore as well. Okay, and then what types of posts on Vulture are the most successful? Things that are most successful are obviously things that are really bubbling that people are talking about. So a lot of it is kind of tapping into things that people are talking about. Ryan Gosling, it's kind of noticing this moment where he was hitting this critical mass in kind of a James Franco-y kind of way, where he was a guy who'd been in the indie world and had certainly everybody knew he was a great actor, but now he seemed to be exceptionally good at kind of handling his own image and turning himself into a really interesting person.
And he was breaking up fights.
He was breaking up fights.
You know who that is, right?
And we did a post like we did that, and obviously it went all over the place. And then we did a post where we just imagined him breaking up other fights, superimposing him in his striped T-shirt, breaking up all these things.
So your past is, as an editor at Entertainment Weekly, where you were a magazine editor and now you're a web editor. I mean, what has that transition been like? And I guess what are the differences, the key differences?
I mean, the big difference is the pace. Like when I was at a weekly magazine, and I was a writer for a long time, then became an editor, and all my friends were at monthly. It was like, oh my God, what it's like at a weekly. Like, that must be just, the pace must be crazy. And now in a way that seems a little bit like a vacation. I'm like, the weekly life, that was great, because it was sort of beginning and middle and end. Like it would build up to the course of the week, and then you would close, and then you would sort of have a moment to take your breath. Whereas the web, it's all like, what have you done for me lately? It's like, all right, well, that post up, what's the next post? Okay, well, what's the next post? And you've constantly have to be reacting to things, which in a way is good, because it forces you, to just, when a big story is breaking, you cover it and then you try and think, all right, what are 3 different ways we can get at this thing? I think that's the thing that we try to do the most, is kind of like, there's usually this kind of storyline that's carved out in the media for a lot of these things. This sounds slightly superficial saying, because it's usually, in hard news, but in, entertainment as well. I just kind of say, like, wait a minute, what is this? It's kind of like, it's going to be a big hit, and everything's wonderful in Hollywood. Got to try and break away and sort of like take a step back from everything. So we try to do that, but at the same time, it's working very quickly, and at the same time, there's other stories coming up, and things can seem late very quickly. You have to sort of pick your moment on the arc to jump in. Because if you wait a little bit too long, then suddenly everyone's like, oh, what was that? Oh yeah, we finished talking about that yesterday. So you really have to be constantly moving and constantly reactive.
Right. Okay, great. Well, in the next part of our 3-part interview with Josh, we'll be talking a little bit more about writing for the web. I am Andrew. This is Josh. Vulture. You've been watching Mediabeat. We'll be back.